Hey, so the setting today is a little bit different. I'm still in the room. I just thought this video should be a little bit different setting wise. I don't think I should just have my manga collection out there. And I also want to make this video a little bit different too. Usually I'm just, showing the volume. I have the volume in hand. I'm talking about it, whatever. Also, I'd like to say this is not a microphone. This is a TV remote. I'm just doing this for fun. This is literally just to hold it for fun. It's like me just fidgeting. It's a fidget toy. Doesn't matter. Usually what I do is I get a manga volume. I hold it in my hand. I talk about it. But I want to do something a little bit different today. Just try something out new. So I have a list on my tablet of what I believe are the top 20 essential or literary canon, if you're one of those people who actually know what that word means or phrase, or basically the 20 most essential manga to read if you want to be a true manga fan, or at least try out. I feel like if you I feel like most of these manga you have at least tried out, or have finished or read the entire thing of. And I feel like these are the ones you have to read to get a full scope of what manga actually is. And it is difficult too, because a lot of these kind of overlap. A lot of these are very different. You're not going to like a lot of these as well, depending on your taste. But I do think these are very important. And I feel like if you want to get the full scope of manga, these 20 that I picked out are the best way to do it. But before we get into that, also, I'm going to be putting the picture right here, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Before we get into that, I want to give some honorable mentions before we get into the top 20. Just some quick ones. I'm not going to put them on the screen, but just really quick ones. I got a couple. I got Mob Psycho. The ones I just couldn't put on. Mob Psycho, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Blue Box, Blue Lock, Claymore, Vinland Saga, Tokyo Revengers, Sailor Moon, Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Oshinoko. So those were the ones I was really, really debating. And those were probably the hardest ones to not put in the list. But, it was tough either way. There's ones like Hell's Paradise, which I was considering. There was ones like Medalist, where I was considering Pluto. I was considering Blood on the Tracks. There was a lot of manga I was considering that I thought would be very, very good picks. But nothing really came to mind. So, here are my top 20. And first, I want to start off with probably one of the most obvious ones that you at least need to try out. And it's One Piece. One Piece is definitely one of the most obvious ones, just because it carries the manga charm that so many manga have, and I feel like One Piece just does it the best. The goofy Saturday morning cartoon vibe, One Piece does the best, while also giving you an enriching and just beautiful story as well. Beautiful world building, incredible characters. It is very long, and I would not blame you if you didn't want to read it or even finish it. But I feel like if you want to really get the full basis of manga, you have to at least try it one time. If you don't like it, that's totally fine. I'm not saying you have to finish all of these or at least read to a certain point. But if you give something a shot on this list and you don't like it, totally fine. But if you want to just dismiss it at all, I think that's a bad idea. And I think One Piece is one of those big ones where it's one of those that it really just. It has just such an influence on manga. Oh, I forgot to say, honorable mention, Naruto. I didn't put Naruto on here. Just because you can just watch the anime. The anime is just better, so I put Naruto. Or at least some people think it doesn't matter. One Piece is just one of those where so many series have been inspired by it that once you read One Piece, you see a lot of One Piece and other manga that are further down the line that aren't on this list. And it really is, it just stands the test of time. It is a cult classic. I do think it is a modern classic. When it finishes, it'll be around for decades, for years to decades, to maybe even centuries. We'll see. And I do think it is one of those big pieces of literary fiction, at least with manga, that is the big one. It is the big one. Even if it has a great anime, which I don't think it does. I still stand by that, but I don't think it does. Next, I have an even more obvious one. It's Berserk. Main reason, one, it's probably most well known as being the best one of all time, being the best manga of all time, and two, it just is, at least of what I've heard, because I haven't read most of it. What I hear is it is genuinely a perfect manga with incredible artwork, incredible characters, incredible world building, fantastic plot, fantastic characters, fantastic I hear nothing but praise about this manga, and I do want to read it. and I will read it. I have like a quarter of the singles already. But Berserk is also one of those manga that I feel don't get as much recognition as they deserve. Just because, and I get that's a crazy thing to say, but just because when people talk about Berserk, they just say, oh, it's Berserk, without really getting into the nitty-gritty on why it's good or how it's good. When a lot of people talk about Berserk, they either talk about how Griffith is a awful person, or how just it's Berserk. And I do think that is a bit disingenuous to the series because of how good I hear it's talked about, and I'd like to know the reason why. And I feel like it's one of those where, again, a lot of series are inspired by it. It's written by, you know, one of the most critically acclaimed manga authors of all time. He's incredible as well. He makes a lot of incredible. I mean, he only made Berserk, but he made a lot of other like one shots as well that are very similar. And I do think you as a person would like Berserk if we like, you know, if we actually like went through this. Okay, next I'm gonna go through this one quick. It's Vagabond. I do think you need at least one Takahiko Inoue manga in here. Takahiko Inoue manga are just different. Like, genuinely, they're just different. I've never read a manga like it, and honestly, this spot could be filled out by either of his 3 manga. Not Chameleon Jail. Fuck that manga. But it could either be filled out by Vagabond, Slam Dunk, or Real. And I just chose Vagabond because it's probably the most popular out of those 3, at least in America, as well as probably the most easy to get into. It's a story about samurai, and while I do think Real and Slam Dunk are both masterpieces in their own right, if you don't have a liking to basketball, or you legit just hate it with like all your blood and soul of basketball and wheelchair basketball, and it's not your thing, you might get a harder time just getting into it. That's what happened to me with Slam Dunk. I'm not a big basketball fan, so it got a little bit tough for me to get into it at the beginning, but Vagabond is one of those, again, stands the test of time. The art is absolutely beautiful. Takahiko Inoue's writing, his facial expressions, the way things are just put together are so interesting and so dynamic. He does it in such a way that I've never seen any other manga author do. And it's so captivating. It is like one of the best, like, I'm not even talking about Vagabond. I don't even think Vagabond's all that. In my opinion, I don't think Vagabond's all that. I'm really talking about Real. Real is my favorite out of those 3. But I mean, if we're just talking about Real, like, it is so insane how attached I can feel to a group of fictional characters. Like, I never thought I'd see the day where I'm more attached to fictional characters than I am people around me. After that, I have another one I feel like is somewhat obvious. I have One Punch Man. Really just one, you need to have a work by one. You need to have a work by one in here. Either One Punch Man, Mob Psycho, or Versus, and he has other manga. I think One Punch Man is one of those just because the art is fucking beautiful. It is a satire on the shonen genre, which there are a lot of. Well, shonen is not a genre, first off. The action genre, there we go. It is a satire about the shonen demographic and just action manga in general. And they do a lot of stuff with that, and a lot of manga do that, and I think One Punch Man is a good place to start with that. Next, at number 5, I have Gantz. Gantz is just one of those dark fantasy that are incredibly gruesome, incredibly edgy, but also just so well told with incredible character arcs and just such heartfelt moments that I feel like as a manga reader, you need to somewhat experience. I mean, it doesn't need to be Gantz, but I feel like Gantz is one of the best at that. After that, I have Death Note. Death Note is a classic. I think... Oh, by the way, I didn't put Neon Genesis Evangelion. I was going to, but you can also just watch the anime, so doesn't matter. I have Death Note here, just because Death Note is Death Note. It's one of the most captivating, enriching stories for like the first like 4 out of the 6 volumes, and then people say it falls off hard. I don't think it falls off hard. I think it falls off a little, but I don't know about hard. Pause. Okay, I'm joking. But Death Note it just has such an enriching and captivating story, such an incredible premise about a guy who can just write people's names into a book and they die of a heart attack. It is so interesting, it is so creative, it is so intelligent, like genuinely one of the best things. It's so intense, it's genuinely more fun and more adrenaline rush than a lot of action manga I read. So Death Note's incredible. Number 7, I have Monster. I think you just also need a Naoki Urasawa work in here too. And I just chose Monster because it's the most popular one. But really any manga by him. Monster's just the best one. It has a great mystery. The story is incredible. The villain's fantastic. Just Monster's definitely up there. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Next, I'm definitely biased. You can also replace this with Slam Dunk, but I like this one more. It's Haikyu. I think the stories are very similar, but I would say Haikyu is the best one to go with. 1, because I think it's a better ending, and it's also longer. And 2, I just do think the character moments in Haikyu are a little bit better, in my opinion. Not that Slam Dunk is bad. Slam Dunk's in my top 10, don't get me wrong. Haikyu is just my favorite manga of all time. And I feel like, 1, you need to get the sports genre. I mean, I still don't think sports is a genre, but whatever. The sports genre in your head on what it is, and Slam Dunk and Haikyu both represent that so well, especially Haikyu. It gives off that feeling of playing a high school sport so goddamn well, and just playing sports in general, and it exceeds its own mindset over and over and over again. It has these teams that are represented by different philosophies, and it doesn't treat one philosophy as worse than the other, and every character has their own privilege and own mindset they go by, and the teams are brought together in such a beautiful way, and the ending is just so brilliant and so fantastic, and it ends off every single character's character arc so well. It's almost impressive. I mean, not almost, it is impressive, and I think Haikyu just does that so well. At number 9, I have Chainsaw Man. Also, you could do Fire Punch by the same author. These are just manga that are just weird. They're just weird manga that are extremely well written, surprising, have great plot twists that I both love. After that, I have Tokyo Ghoul. I think Tokyo Ghoul is one of these as well. Kind of similar to what I said about Gantz, just because you need a darker story to talk about, and I think Tokyo Ghoul is that one. And it just has some incredible psychotic moments. After that, I have a very underrated manga I think a lot of people should be reading, and it's Kaiji, just because I think Kaiji is one of the most creative manga I've ever read in my entire life. It is so psychological, so smart, so intelligent, but also so thought-provoking at the same time. It does both and balances them equally as well. The characters are great. They make the author can make characters as extremely likable or extremely unlikable at just the drop of a hat. It is seamless. It is beautiful. The pacing is fantastic. If you read, there's the first game is about rock paper scissors. If you read that game and is not impressed by it, I don't know what to tell you, man. You're not gonna like the rest of the manga because it is genuinely fantastic, and I think it's one of those underrated pieces that really need to be read by more of the mass, in my opinion at least. I think a lot of people need to read it, and I put it here, 1, for that reason, because it is, in my opinion, underrated, but 2, just because, 1, it's the best gambling manga I've ever read, and it has such high intensity moments that I don't think you can get anywhere else but Kaiji. After that, I have Fullmetal Alchemist, just Fullmetal Alchemist, because Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is the anime, but Fullmetal Alchemist, it's known as also one of the best anime of all time and also one of the best manga. Everybody loves it. The characters are incredible. The story's great. The plot's great. There's a lot of just great things about it. The themes are executed so well. The fights are great. It can get pretty boring at times, in my opinion, but again, like, you get that with every manga, and Fullmetal Alchemist just does a lot of things at the exact same time really, really well. It is probably one of the best overall manga that I've ever read. It is just so good, and it touches on a lot of character tropes and plot lines and different arcs that the characters go on that are done in other stories after, and it inspires a big generation of manga. And also the author is a legend. She is a legend, and you need at least one of her manga there. If not Fullmetal Alchemist, Silver Spoon, Demons of the Shadow Realm, doesn't matter. You need one of her manga here. After that, I have Bleach. Just because the anime is god-awful. The anime just has awful filler. While the 1,000 Year Blood War is, really, really good, the manga is fantastic. It has this great way, at least with its art, of using dead space, of using this great like showcase of these different colors, and I get like it's black and white manga, but the way the contrast is pasted in the art is genuinely fantastic. The villains are incredible. They're also threatening and evil and unlikable, but they're also super fun, and it's always exciting to see the main character face them. The characters are great. After the first arc, a lot of them come back and are just great pieces of emotional just brilliance, genuinely. Bleach's manga is fantastic. I'm like halfway through it and I've been loving it. After that, I have Bakuman. I haven't read much of Bakuman, but I did put it here just because there are a lot of manga about making something, whether it's manga about making manga about making movies, a manga about comedy sketches, and I think Bakuman does the best at that. And I do think it's a good idea to at least well-verse yourself on the process of making manga, because a lot of people think, at least when getting into manga, some people can think like, oh, it's just like a book, like, oh, the author, he goes and makes a volume and then he sends it. But really, it's this huge, very tiring, turmoil process that is incredibly exhausting, and you have to release a chapter every single week, and there's a lot of nuances in between it, and you have to be very productive week by week by week, and you have to be very stable, and Bakuman, I think, showcases that really, really well. It also showcases sexism in manga really well too, by being very sexist. It's great at that. Okay. Next, after that, I have also another great one I think everyone should read, and it's Goodnight Punpun. This one's a lot more obvious, but I mean, it's Goodnight Punpun. What are you gonna do? It's just fantastic. One of the best written stories I've ever read. I will say though, there is a plot line in this manga that becomes like the second plot line, the second main plot line, and it's the most boring thing I've ever read. But the rest of it is basically 10 out of 10 masterpiece. The characters are inhuman, how human they are written. It feels uncomfortable. There's so many moments that feel uncomfortable. The way the manga is shot, I can't believe I'm talking about a manga like it's a movie, but the way the manga is shot is so brilliant and just so beautiful. Like the way characters are introduced, the way characters are written, the way fights are written are so well produced and executed. It's incredible. It's a very simple story, but it tugs at your heartstrings. It makes you feel emotions that real world experiences won't make you feel, and that's what makes it hurt so much more. And I think Goodnight Punpun, it does that so well. After that, I have Ashita no Joe, but really any old classic manga. You could also fit this with Astro Boy, really any manga made by Osamu Tezuka, but I just chose Ashita no Joe because I think it's the best example of this, while also being just very, very fun and incredibly witty. I think Ashita no Joe is like the perfect example. But a lot of older manga, really, just to get well-versed in what came before, what came after, different time periods of manga, that kind of stuff. And then next I have Uzumaki, but also really any Junji Ito work. You can also replace this with PTSD Radio, which isn't by Junji Ito, but they're both very, very similar in horror. But yeah, really any work by Uzumaki, or by Junji Ito. But I specifically recommend Uzumaki just because it's the most popular. It's probably one of the most terrifying, at least of what I've heard. I haven't read many Junji Ito works, and I've read Uzumaki, I just haven't read most of his works, and it's just probably the most well-known. After that, I have kind of a controversial one, but I think I needed to put a music manga in here, and this is the only one I could think of, but it was Blue Giant. Blue Giant, again, one of those manga. One, it has a bunch of sequels to it, and I do think you need some manga with sequels just to get that experience of reading a manga with sequels. But also, Blue Giant is just one of the most brilliantly told, well-executed stories I've ever read. Again, I keep saying this word brilliant, but genuinely, it's fantastic. It is also one of these stories of like the hero's journey, or like the coming-of-age story where someone just drops everything and they go out to pursue a dream. And Blue Giant, I think, does that basically perfectly. I think there's other manga that do it better, but I think Blue Giant is like one of the greatest examples of doing that. And it's such a enriching tale of following your dreams, of being the best version of yourself, of working hard, of being disciplined, but also having passion in the thing that you love and not being able to lose that passion. And honestly, it's one of the most inspirational manga I've ever read too. And there's so many scenes that got me choked up, that got me crying. So many moments that are so well drawn and so well executed. And you probably wouldn't think that you could hear the music in a music manga, and I will tell you, you can't. Like, genuinely, you can't hear it, but you feel that intensity the characters are feeling. The way they're hitting their drums or pressing keys on their tuba or whatever, on their saxophone. That's what it is, saxophone. Or the way they're slamming the keys down on a piano. The intensity with it, the emotion they're bringing to it. How they describe music as a song and dance, haha, pun, as a song and dance between the producer and the consumer. Like, it is such a fantastic tell of emotion, of relationships, of past and future. It is incredible read. I cannot recommend less. It's definitely not one of my favorites on here though. It's Haikyu. That's my favorite. After that, I have Nana. I have not read Nana. I've just heard incredible things about it, and I do think you need a josei manga here. I don't have any josei or any shoujo manga, which I probably should have, but what are you gonna do? Like, I don't know a lot of shoujo manga, and two, at least I'm assuming most of you are men. You don't need to read a shoujo manga. Like, you do, but like, it's literally not a manga targeted towards you. It would be like if I went, here are the movies you need to watch to get an essential look on film, and I gave you the Paw Patrol movie, or like Meet the Robinsons. Like, yeah, probably it would be a good idea or whatever, and it might be very, very well written, but I'm not going to give you a kid's movie, okay? I mean, not saying that, you know, manga for girls or for kids. I'm just saying, like, there's different demographics. Okay. Finally, long spiel. Finally, I have, for my last one, I need to put a romance manga in here. I know I did Nana, but it's not really a romance. It's more just like an emotional contemporary thriller, kind of, or really like a drama. Finally, I have Kaguya-sama Love is War. I was debating Blue Box, I was debating The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, and I was debating Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You. I was also debating Zom 100, but I think Zom 100 is not that great for starting manga. It's an incredible manga, but I don't think it's that great for starting, at least. And the reason I gave Kaguya-sama Love is War, one, it is a different telling of a romance, like the romance genre, while also being incredibly relatable. Two, it's very cute. It's very funny. And three, it's pretty emotional as well. Like, genuinely, even if you're not a romance fan, and I read this when I wasn't really the biggest romance fan, if you're not a romance fan, I genuinely do feel like Kaguya-sama Love is War, you'll still like. I've heard a lot of people who don't like it just because they can't relate with it. But if you're one of those people who, when they have a crush on someone, they don't want to tell the other person and they just want the other person to tell them, you're going to love it. It's the story, I mean, you probably know what Kaguya-sama Love is War is. Story about these two geniuses who both have a crush on each other, and they basically know the other person has a crush on them, but they're just trying to get the other person to confess because their egos are so high that they genuinely just can't do it. Like, they just don't want to do it. So they play these mind games with each other to, like, get the other person to basically say, I like you. And it's so, like, just funny and so just fun, and the twists and turns are incredible, and the callbacks are incredible, and the flashbacks are fantastic. And I do think around the end it does fly off a little bit at the deep end and get a little bit too dramatic and a little bit too into like its weird genre, but the beginning to like the middle are like very, very special volumes that you cannot find anywhere else besides Kaguya-sama Love is War. Okay, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you want me to do a part 2 to this. Let me know if I left out any manga that I should have put in. There's some manga in here, like Naruto, I probably should have put in. I probably should have put in like Soul Eater, Sakamoto Days I could have put in here. Let me think. I guess Pluto is also one. Let me think. I mean, I could have put Blue Period. I could have put The Breaker. I could have put some manhwa in here. I could have put Real instead of Vagabond. I could have put Zom 100. Like, there's a lot of manga in here I could have put as my top 20 essential manga, but I feel like this was the best list that I could come up with. If you're a new manga fan, this is basically a recommendation video. Or if you've never touched manga in your life, these are the manga that I feel like you should at least start out with. And if you don't like something, just move on to the next one. Or whatever catches your eye first, just read it. So, yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.